We can start if you're ready.
Yeah, ready.
Okay, perfect. So this is probably one of the most common opposite color bishop situation, which we should know. Okay, so how to defend against two connected pawns. So I mean, and also these positions or these methods actually shows us that opposite color bishop have a very nice drawing tendency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so let's get started and let's try to understand the drawing technique here. So basically, you have to stop the e pawn from advancing. That's usually
Mm-hmm.
the rule of these positions. So normally, when you have the dark square bishop, white
Mm-hmm.
should be worrying about like how to control the pawns on the light squares. Dark squares is not a problem for white. He can always take care of it, but he should try to push his pawn to e6. And from black's perspective, black has to defend it. So we have two options here, like it's black to play, and we have two options here. One is bishop d7, and the other one is bishop b3. So which one you think can work in this position? Like just you can pick a guess or just have a small calculation. Which one you think should work in this position?
Bishop b3 because that stops the king's entry to d5, I think, right? Otherwise, king d5 again threatens e6, I think. I
Um,
think
yeah.
uh well, I think this position is a draw no matter
Mhm.
what, for the most part. Like there's not gonna be much ways to really make progress. At any point, if black plays f or white plays f6, it's definitely a draw for sure. But even if he plays e6, I feel like there's multiple ways of drawing here because the king is already in place. And if the king is gonna step into a light square, for example, right?
Mhm.
And then the bishop just guards, e6 or even e8. There's really no solid way that I can see that white can make too much progress, I think.
Okay.
But
All right.
anyway, my answer is bishop b3, I think.
Bishop b3. Okay. All right. So let's just say you play bishop b3. Okay. So now, of course, I will figure out a check. So I'll just give a
Mm-hmm.
check here. Okay. What next?
Mm-hmm. I'll hold on to control of the e6. So I'll play king f7.
King f7. All right. So this is a nice defensive method. Yeah. You can say that it's preventing e6 and okay, white cannot do anything. But here is the problem. Like now, let's say I play the move king d4.
You're gonna come to d6, right?
Yes. And do you see suddenly it becomes very difficult to defend king c5, king d6? So basically with the opposite color bishop, we always say that if we can attack and defend at the same time, then things are much easier for us. So we will imagine the same situation by keeping the bishop on d7. So let's say he goes for the same way, bishop b4 and king f7. This is a draw because we are defending e6, also not allowing king because of the pawn on f5. This
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right.
this is an easy draw. We are never worried about the move f6 because the moment a hole is created, we will just shuffle around it. Like we will just keep the
Yep.
bishop going here and here. So
Yep.
that's
That's it. Yep.
that's not a problem. All we have to do is stop e6. Now e6 means we'll take. It's an easy draw. So basically, black will now not make any moves and just play bishop c8, bishop d7. Just don't leave the diagonal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a draw. Like there is no way white can make any progress from here.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Because he has to be able to leave the c4 pawn to come guard e6 with his king, right?
Yes.
Okay, going back to the other position though.
Mm-hmm.
Is it too late to do the same thing with bishop c2 once the king leaves?
Actually, you can still defend it with bishop c2. So it's not considered the most accurate method. So let's say if this, and king d4, it's still possible. Right now, it's still possible to play bishop c2 and defend the position because e6, I still have king f6, and you don't have a check, yeah, with the bishop. So this is still a draw. But there is a small problem with the bishop b3 move. So why bishop b3 is considered a mistake? Because white will not go bishop b4, he will go bishop g5. Okay, now what do we do? Now if you go king f7, now I go king d4. So now bishop c2 is impossible. Yeah, I'm going to go e6. So if bishop c2, e6, and next move f6. Okay, this is lost.
Yeah.
So black has to play king d7. Yeah, this is the only defensive try you can say. But now I take my king all the way to f4, g5, f6, and just win. I'm gonna play king f4. I think you have to wait. Just play bishop h4, king g5, king f6, e6, and white simply wins.
Yeah.
So this is to just also remember that once you remember this defensive construction, yeah, lot of people actually get confused and they also think that king on d7 and bishop on f7 will also lead to a draw. Actually not. You have to remember that you need to defend and attack at the same time.
Interesting. Yeah, this is a concept that I mean, it's logically makes sense, and I'm pretty sure I've heard of this also, but I didn't even consider that idea when you initially presented to me that hey, bishop d7 means the king cannot really leave at all without pushing f6,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much, right? Although he can still try to come around to g5, right?
Now
But
even
then,
if it comes to g5, I will still play bishop
yeah, no
c8, bishop
progress.
c6.
Yeah, he still can't push e6. That's the thing. He has to make progress with f6, which is automatically going to be a draw.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Makes sense.
Okay. So that's good enough actually. Yeah. Okay. So we will go to the next position
Okay.
and try to figure out if you can. Uh, Let me just.
By the way, so after bishop b3, the position was lost.
Yes. After bishop b3, if I play bishop g5,
Yeah.
then the white is winning.
Oh, that's
If I know this,
crazy.
bishop b4 is not good. Like there is still a defense. Bishop g5 is still completely winning for white. Actually, you know why I don't also like to mention this bishop b3 idea. So in the endgame, yeah, there are always the theoretical chances and the practical chances, right? So we
Yeah.
always say that if we go for a position which still has some practical chances, then that's not the most accurate way to defend the position.
Yes. Correct.
So better to always remember the best way of defending, so that because the best way means your opponent does not have a lot of like chances to create, and you also don't have a lot of chances to go wrong. I mean, if you remember this position once, bishop on d7 and king on f7, attacking the pawn, you can never go wrong in this position because even if you don't have a lot of theoretical ideas, you will understand that I can just play bishop c8, bishop d7, and white has no progress. However, in the bishop b3 line, I mean, okay, you might think you have seen a draw, but somehow your opponent spots bishop g5. Things get a bit tricky after that. So we better don't allow any of these stuffs.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy though, because I thought that this position was drawn no matter what, but it's not so simple at all. In fact,
Oh no, it's not simple actually. This position
I
will
always just assume like bishops of opposite color, extra pawns doesn't mean anything. Like it's automatic draw, but it's not automatic draw at all.
not always, I mean, there are a lot of things we have to take into consideration before you actually say that it's a draw.
Hmm.
Okay, we'll go for the next one. Just
Okay.
let's see if you can try and make this a draw. It's black to play.
I think I understand the concept of this, but I'm not sure. But I feel like if isn't it a draw if I just take the pawn on d5 and he can't take back with the e pawn? Like if I'm just leaving him with the e pawn,
Hmm.
is that not a draw because the pawn is queening on a light square and he has a dark square bishop and my king is already in place to defend?
No, Rafi, that's valid only for the corner pawn. Yeah,
Oh,
I understand what you mean. So you basically mean such a position, right?
yes. Yeah.
No,
It's not
this
a draw,
see,
right?
this is not a draw because what will happen? White doesn't need to use the bishop right now. White will just play it as a regular king pawn endgame. Okay, so this is the regular
Mm,
king pawn endgame, and now he doesn't have to play king e6, right? He will just waste a move.
right. And then you lose. Wow. You're right. Yep.
So that doesn't work in this. If it was an a pawn, yeah, then it's a draw. Like that's the concept we call it as a wrong square or a wrong color pawn.
Mhm.
So that's fine.
Only rook pawns, right? Not even knight pawns, correct?
Only rook pawns. Any other pawn is just losing.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
So basically, it means that in this situation, only if white had a pawn on the a file, that can be a draw.
Yeah.
Any other pawns is just winning. Like even if it's the h pawn, it's also winning.
Right. Hmm. Okay. Gotcha. So Here, wouldn't it kind of be the same type of idea where bishop is on f7, king stays on d7, and we just
Yes,
try to stop e6?
yes.
So in that case, then I just play bishop f7 and keep going back and forth.
Okay, bishop f7, king f6,
Bishop g8.
king g7.
Oh,
So that's the trick of the position. Like because of this issue, uh, we need to understand that right now the pawns are not both on the fifth rank. They are still on the fourth and fifth rank. Yeah, so that's why the bishop is a bit restricted.
so hmm. Well, then I guess only on the one move really here, I think. Well, actually, hold on. One idea could potentially, in theory, be like, just to swap the positions of the king and the bishop and get the bishop back to d7, king on f7. But I feel like that's going to be very difficult to accomplish right now, given that the pawns are
But
already this far out.
yeah, but Rafi, that idea never works. Yeah, so we know that if the bishop is on d7 and king on f7, your bishop is not attacking the pawns. Yeah, it's only defending the square. So white can play king d6 and e5 e6 later on.
See,
So the
I
setup is
guess
okay.
bishop.
Just we need to do something about this king f6, king g7.
Yeah, so we got to go for the e4 pawn then, I guess. That's the only other
Very
alternative.
exactly. So this also highlights the situation that even with the opposite color bishop situation, you need to keep attacking in order to defend.
Hmm. So
So
this is a
bishop,
theme in all these kind of positions, is you got to keep an attack on the base of the chain.
yes,
Or
yes,
whichever pawn, is the one whichever pawn you want him to push, you got to attack that one.
yes, definitely, yes.
I guess you could put it that way. Like ideally, I want white to play e5 and d6.
Exactly. Then it's a draw. Then it's the easiest way
Whatever
to
I can get him to do that.
exactly. So basically, you just need to keep your bishop here, and so white cannot now make any progress here with king f6. He has to play king d4 to push the pawns. And now we
Mm-hmm.
will just wait because we know the moment he pushes, we get our original position.
Yep, makes sense. Yeah.
So now his king is stuck with the defense of this pawn. That means his king cannot go here. There is no way. And we just wait on these two squares. So it's an easy draw after this.
Interesting.
And this is like theoretically proven, so we need to stick to this one, this idea.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Okay. We will now see suddenly some changes in the position, and you can see the pawns are separated, yeah, here. This is always a big problem for the defending side whenever the pawns are separated. As long as the pawns were connected, it was still okay, yeah, because you need to defend like one square. But whenever the pawns are separated, this is impossible to defend. Like it's very difficult in general to defend. So this is a situation which is already winning for white. White just needs to find the right plan how to like win this one. The plan is very simple. The bishop and thus this pawn, they will just be there in the game. They won't do anything. This pawn and this king will try to promote and pick up this bishop. That is the whole plan. So in order to do this, you first need to defend the c6 pawn. So you should probably just come bishop f3 before you start anything. Let's say black just waits, king e6, and he will just wait again. So in this situation, we play f6. So you can see it's very difficult to stop the king and the pawn as well, yeah, when they are trying to promote. So black will probably just wait, f7, bishop b4, king f6, bishop c3, king g6, bishop b4, king g7. So you can see the black's king cannot participate in the defense. Yeah, that's the whole issue. So this is like a simple
Because
win.
they're separated, right?
Yeah, because the pawns are separated. So the king cannot control both of them. And
Would it also have happened if the pawn was on e6 instead of f7?
in that case, we would have to figure out how to make progress. But in those cases, I would still say there is a good chance of defense. Like if c6 and e6 were the pawns, then there is a better chance of defending. But with two files distance, it's impossible. Like very difficult, let's just say.
Hmm.
Okay. But I mean, having said this, I should also tell you that the problem in this position is black's bishop is not able to control both the pawns on the same diagonal.
Yeah.
So what I mean by this here, so I'll just give you a position. Let's just say very similar to this one, but something like this. This can be drawn because you see the bishop on c7 is controlling the entire diagonal. Yeah, so it's very difficult for white to make any progress in this position. The only way white can try to win is if he manages to get his king here. But the moment white goes to put his king on b7, I go back with my king as well.
But if you do though,
Mhm.
then the bishop doesn't have to leave that h2 to b8 diagonal, right? He's always gonna stay on that diagonal basically. So
Yeah,
he'll stop f4 and c7 both.
yes.
Mm. Okay, makes sense. What if the pawn was on f4?
Okay,
Then it's not so easy, right? Because then there's two diagonals that the bishop has to guard now.
yes. If the pawn has like is already on f4, then it becomes difficult because just we'll try to imagine. Yeah. So let's just say we play this this position, okay? This will be a bit tricky because white will play the same idea,
Mhm.
and when you go back, I have this pawn to distract your king, yeah?
Yeah.
So I'll play f6 and things are not looking so good for you. If it was one diagonal, then okay, but if it's not one diagonal, then it's a problem. So this should be winning for white. I hope this is clear, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. Um, I want to now switch to some more practical examples
Okay.
and just to show you how sometimes opposite color bishop happens in the game and how you manage to get an end game out of it. So, okay. Okay, so this was the position basically, and now white has to make a decision, yeah, if he wants to go for the opposite color bishop or not. So, okay, I mean, I'll give you some time to figure this out. So, do you think it's a good idea to go into the opposite color bishop?
Playing for white, right?
Yeah, it's white to play.
Okay. Is white trying to win?
Yes, if do you think white can win this? Rafi, just 1 second. Yeah, sorry about it.
You good? So I feel like if I trade rooks here, I'm definitely losing that A pawn, I think. Seems like.
Okay.
So if I lose that A pawn, I have 4 against 3. Actually, I'm not necessarily losing that a pawn. Actually, what am I saying? After trading rooks, I can always play bishop e2 followed by a6 and hold on to the pawn. Actually, yes. I believe I think I can possibly win this game because, you know, I think that I can tie down at least his king or bishop to a7, guarding a7, because that pawn is always going to be a threat. And then I can start maneuvering with the king and try to somehow pick up one of these pawns, because that bishop is definitely going to be overworked. It has to protect, h4, f6, b4. Like that bishop is going to be, you know, having to defend so many different diagonals, right? Like, and I don't think that one bishop can do that, honestly, especially with that a pawn constantly threatening to queen. So considering that, and also if I don't trade the rooks, then I mean, how am I going to win this position otherwise? I feel like his rook is kind of sufficiently defending all those pawns. And I mean, I don't know, there might be other ways to win, but I feel like I would feel okay going into the end game and trying to fight for a win here with that scenario.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the a pawn being a constant threat.
Okay. So how do you think we should proceed here?
Okay, so I would just take the rook and then play bishop e2.
Okay, bishop e2. So this is the first, you can say the first step of the winning plan. Yeah. Now we have the bishop on e2, so black's king cannot approach it. We have saved the pawn and everything is working in our favor. Okay, black plays bishop e5. What next?
Next, we can Okay, next, I would like to try something that I think yeah, I think this I would go for this in a real game, honestly, just for practical chances. I would play c3, I think.
c3. Okay. What if I take?
Then I play b4.
Okay.
See, the thing is that now, I mean, my bishop on d3 can
Mm-hmm.
always stop c2, and I can still try to use that king to try to make some progress with the two pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Is it enough to win? That I don't know. But I think
Okay.
practical, maybe it's
I
worth it,
think
worth a try.
no, I think what you're trying to do is okay, but if you remember, yeah, we just talked like sometimes it's easier to win with separated pawns than with connected pawns because black forms some sort of a defensive idea. I think this is one position where bishop d6 might work.
I have to play b5.
And now bishop b4.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Pretty much have to play yeah, I have to play b6 now.
Yes, b6, king
Or sorry, not
b6.
b6. Well,
Eh,
b6, king b6, then I'm losing the a pawn, right?
Yeah, you're losing this pawn
No,
or this.
I meant to say the a6, sorry, not b6.
Okay, a6 means you have already made my defensive task easier, yeah?
Mhm.
because you have made a hole in the dark square. So I'll just play king b6. Even without this pawn, I think it's going to be a draw easily.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Mhm. So far here, I mean, till this, I think it's okay with bishop e5. Here, I mean, okay, I'll just help you with the winning idea. So let's see what happened in the game. So white went king a2, and now the idea is to play king b3 and just king b4,
Mhm.
giving up the b2 pawn, and then white will have the a5 pawn and the c2 pawn, yeah, which is more easier to push.
Mm.
Okay, so technically, I think still it would be a draw if we remove all these pawns. But if we have these pawns, that means black cannot sacrifice his bishop so easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why after king a2, black played bishop c7, I think here. Yeah, bishop c7. So a6, king b6, king b3, bishop d6. So here white used like a small tactics to just improve his king. You cannot take on a6. That's the tactics.
Mhm.
Bishop e5, king b4, bishop b2, and again white used the same tactics. King c4, king c6, bishop f3, king b6, and bishop b7. So now suddenly you will see that it's not so easy when white plays king d5, c4, c5. It's suddenly slightly difficult for black to deal with everything.
Yeah.
So because he could not stop them in one diagonal, right? That's the issue. So he goes bishop e5, king b5, bishop c3, and waiting move, bishop c8. The point is now you have to move your king away. And now I come back king c4 and king b5. I mean, king b4, sorry. I will push c4, yeah, no matter what. Can't stop it for a long time.
So, okay, so what is the reason that we didn't go like king towards like d7 with the king?
You mean in this position like
Something
this?
like that. Like, well, I mean, I guess maybe move the pawn up first or something, right?
Yeah, but how will you remove the how will you move the pawn if I just keep my bishop here? What Rafi you are saying is correct. I mean that is White's winning idea. But right now we have to kick the bishop out. Yeah, we need to move our pawn first.
So, I mean, like we play king c4.
Yes, king c4 and king b3. This is how the game happened. Because now
Right,
c4
right.
is unstoppable. Then
Mm-hmm.
White will obviously take his king again to push the pawn further.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened in the game actually. So king d3,
Oh,
king
okay.
b8, bishop b7, king c7, c4, bishop g3, c5, bishop f2, c6. So yeah, white actually played king c4 first. C6 also probably was not like necessary because we are allowing bishop a7. Yeah. So king c4 and king b8, king b5, king a7, king c6, bishop g1, king d6, bishop h2, king d7, bishop g3, c6. So this is the defensive position about which we were talking. And now actually king b8 was enough to defend the position, provided we did not have any of these pawns here. But because these pawns are still here, Now just a7 or c7 will win the game.
Yeah.
So white just played a7 here. You have to take, and c7. You have to take and take. So now it's not even a stalemate because you still have the pawn here. And these stalemate tricks anyway would not have worked because white always had c7, bishop c7, a7, king b7, a8 queen, and takes. And the king pawn endgame is winning. Yeah, white is much faster. So you can say pretty much both the variations are winning for white. So here you
Yeah.
can see the biggest problem was also the involvement of the pawns on the other side of the board. Like they weren't doing anything, but just because they were present, black lost the ability to sacrifice his bishop. Yeah? So these kind of positions are extremely tricky because it's pretty understandable that before this situation, somebody volunteered to exchange the rooks, right?
Yeah.
So basically, it was black who played the move rook to d4 because he's of the same opinion. Like, okay, it's opposite color bishop and it should be drawn. Like, let's just say, if we make so let's in this position, if we make a move like b3, the game is drawn already. This we can never win.
Wow, that's
And b3 is a move which a lot of people might play, to just free the king. Yeah, like king c1, king
yeah.
b3. But
I would
b3,
have considered it too. In fact, I was considering that move myself.
hmm
But I
definitely.
also considered king a2 and king b3.
King a to king b3. Yeah. So in this situation, I would say, like, if we stick to the normal ideas, yeah, that we should not put so many pawns on the same color of the bishop. Here actually, it's not that important, but I would still say that uh, the ability of not creating the separated pass pawns was the factor why white cannot win the game. But if he finds king a2 and the idea of c4 and all that stuff, then white is winning. This was actually one interesting point, when king c4 happened. Yeah. So lot of the players were actually considering king a7 in this position. So basically the question was like, if king a7 is played, how white can win? So can you try and find the winning plan after this?
So here, I think we can do the same concept. We can just play c3 here, I think, right?
Um, yes, I think so. Basically, I think this is the easiest winning method in this position to somehow play c3. But okay, let's just say you played c3. Um, I'm just trying. Yeah, what if I played this?
Um, Probably king d5.
Yes, I think this is, and you're trying to play c4. Yeah, after that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take the b pawn. No way. I want to push through with c4, and I mean, well, I still need to defend the a6 pawn though, right? So maybe I need to play.
Mhm. So how to defend the a6 pawn?
Here, I would just go for the f6 pawn now, right?
F6 pawn, I think, is not so important because anyway, even if we capture, we still cannot create any pass pawns because of that. Yeah? Like, let's just
True,
pretend the
but
F6 pawn isn't existing.
if I grab the f6 pawn for free,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just up an extra pawn, and I'm going. Then h4 is also an issue, right? And I always have g4 to try to get another pass pawn.
How
So like,
exactly?
if I can get that f6 pawn for free here, why wouldn't I go after it?
So let's just
What
say you.
happens after king e6 here?
I will probably play something like this.
And let's just say I just take on f6. Will you play b3 here?
No, definitely not. B3, I mean, you can anyway pick it up by bishop d1, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
actually, yeah, you're right. I was
no,
gonna say like maybe bishop tries to come to c1, but yeah, I missed that. I can just grab the b3 pawn.
yeah, no, I'll play something like this maybe.
Okay, so so now I've accomplished the same scenario, except I just have the f6 pawn also, right? So now I'll go back to my original plan. I'll just start walking back to the
Mm-hmm.
king side, or so the
Okay.
queen side,
Yeah.
and
And
then again threaten to push that c4 pawn.
try to push the c4. Okay, so basically, even in this position, if you still need to push c4, you still need to defend the a6 pawn, right? I mean, before you push c4, you would still require to defend the a6 pawn. So instead of grabbing a non-important pawn, I actually think we can make the move bishop b5 here.
Hmm. Next move, we're playing c4 basically, right?
Next move, we are playing c4 and c5 as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is definitely winning for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this already explains the complex nature of the opposite color bishop here. Like sometimes things look very easy, very simple, but are not. And it's just like, you know that this should be winning, but not able to find the right idea. So things like that happen. And a lot of distractions. Yeah, like even in this position, you see you are going behind the f6 pawn, yeah, which I think is okay. I mean, I'm not sure if it's a very bad idea and White lost all his original winning plans. I don't think so. It's like that. But still, it would probably be better if we directly play bishop b5, yeah, so that black does not have any counter plays of any kind. Because what I'm thinking, yeah, let's say you play king e6, for example, and I played this and you took this. So what if now I decide to trade this and play something like bishop a3?
Still play bishop b5 here, right?
Now bishop b5. Okay. So because bishop b2, you have king g5, yeah, and you pick up this guy.
Yeah, sure, that would work, I guess.
Yeah, that will work also. No, definitely white is winning in multiple ways. That's for sure. But still, somehow I feel that this is just more accurate with the move bishop b5. instead of doing anything else, just bishop d5. Because it's just you are sticking to your own plan, yes, c4, c5. But yeah, white is winning here easily. I think the most difficult part is when you have to make decisions, yeah, of playing this rook d4 and stuff like that. From that moment, visualizing everything is, I would say, more important. I can actually also show you one more example where I kind of evaluated some sort of an opposite color bishop pretty well. So this was my game. I was playing as black, and my opponent played bishop d5 in this position. So now basically it's a forced calculation, which leads to an opposite color bishop. And you must be also aware how to hold that opposite color bishop situations. So he took, c takes d2, bishop a4, rook to e1 check, king g2, bishop d1, bishop d4, and b3. So this is what was played. So here, my biggest fear is, like, if I'm playing this position from black, my biggest fear is, what if, like, let's just say these two pawns get exchanged and white will have one pass pawn and another pass pawn, yeah? And these pawns are like way too separated, right?
Mhm.
So my king and bishop alone cannot stop them. Like, there is no way they can stop just the b pawn or the h pawn on their own.
Mhm.
So from here, I figured out an idea. I understood another important thing about this position, that if white is just left with an h pawn, then he cannot win it because it's the wrong color, yeah?
Yeah.
So what I tried to do, like my next move was designed in such a way that if white wants to create any pass pawn on the king side, he first has to exchange a lot of pawns. So I played the move f5. Now it's not so obvious, yeah, like not so easy to understand like what's actually happening, how f5 is in favor of black here. But my question is, how exactly will white create a pass pawn on the king side? This side I'm not worried about, yeah, because I know the pawn can maximum go to b5. That's it. No further progress. So if white wants to create a pass pawn, he has to play the move f3, g4. When I take, let's say I just wait, and he plays h5, and I take again, and now I can just go back. I will give up the bishop for the pawn. Should be an easy draw, right?
Yeah.
So these are the things that you need to like visualize. I mean, only if you know these ideas, and if these ideas struck you during the game, only then you can make a move like f5. Or else, I'm pretty sure most of the players will try to play f6 g5, right? Keep everything on the dark squares. But that would be the wrong idea. I mean, I'm not sure if it's losing or not, but that would be the wrong idea.
Makes sense.
Okay. So I think, Rafi, for today, we can probably finish.
Okay. Good deal, man. Yeah.